The internet is designed for businesses and advertisers.
Not for you. Algorithms don't care about your feelings. They don't consider the psychology of your children. They know nothing of truth, of honesty, of body image, or propaganda. They serve no God, nor man. They seek only to foster engagement. Love is blind, and so is hate. And these algorithms know it. They're not echo chambers, they're engagement enclosures that prey upon our inner animals' limbic systems and cerebella. Social media is a monster that devours solidarity, that kills community and pro-social behavior. In one part on purpose, and in another only as a side effect of their design and construction. Welcome back to The Quiet Part. This video is about sociology. It's about where people and algorithms and human behavior meet, and it's inspired by two other videos I've seen here on YouTube. The first being from Kurzgesagt, one of the most prolific and hypothetically authoritative edutainment channels here on YouTube. They're known for their vibrant, if not corporate-coded educational videos covering a range of topics from physiology to existential philosophy. Around the same time I made this video about my anti-social media smartphone, Kurzgesagt published this.
On the digital town square, you encounter people that express opinions or share information that clash with your worldview. But unlike your neighbor, they don't root for your local sports club. You're missing the local social glue your brain needs to align with them.
Which felt all too timely and got me thinking. Though that was months ago, I needed more time to keep thinking. More recently, another high-ranking unofficial official of the education space, Hank Green, made this video with this title in thumbnail, from which I now cite obvious inspiration and imitation. In the meantime, I had been continuing work on different pro-social projects, talking about solar punk, better systems for education, and reasons to have a healthier work-life balance. I've been talking a lot about hope and optimism, but it's all literally online. Through this YouTube channel, I've chosen to speak. It's social media, and I've spent so much time learning and thinking about how this works. After all I've seen, there's one thing I've realized. There is a disconnect between communication online and in real life, which definitely isn't a monumental realization, it's downright intuitive. I mean, to me personally, the biggest problem concerns people who talk like they aren't in public, the hiding behind the screen that we're all so familiar with. But all this got me curious. I wanted to understand why things get like this, and the answer lies, as I said, in sociology, the study of human social behavior. Maybe another word is just social psychology. The big thing and piece of data I want to chew on in this video surrounds the idea of community size and anonymity. Here's a quick anecdote to set the stage, and I promise it's related. When I first began studying astronomy, my professor emphasized that we learn about the psychology of scale. Picture one person, and then another. Now 20, maybe a classroom, or 100. Like a lecture hall. How many faces do you see? Can you remember and name and describe them all? Now 1,000. You're in a stadium for a concert. You can see each face, but the details are starting to fade. It's 100 times bigger than 100, and math has given you the ability to understand that. But can you understand them? Every face of 1,000. Every story. It's around 10,000 points of data that most people start to lose the ability to discern specific things. Or at least that is the loosely scientific data we were taught. I'll cite our textbook that described this here if I find it. And while this story was originally told to communicate the idea that stars and cosmology is a discipline of immense and often inconceivable scale, I think it also says something about human psychology. How many people can one person know? We are creatures of both natural selection and chance. Social to our core, but to what scales? How often, through the nearly 3 million years our genus has been around, have we found ourselves in groups larger than what, 100? What's certain is that we are more connected and more anonymous in our communication now more than ever. But what am I connecting this to? Well, I have this idea, or maybe just a feeling for now, that algorithms and anonymity in social media trick our brains in some notable ways. Here's how. First, a quick review of the business model of social media companies. The goal, like most things on the internet, is to serve you advertisements. Whether targeted or more general, social media companies make their money by selling your personal data through advertisers and then a combination of both. The issue arises when, by virtue of their free market nature, a social media platform is only as valuable as its reach. Always more. More eyes, more clicks, more likes, more shares, more subscriptions, upvotes, comments, ratios, on and on. The social engineers behind TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube have figured out that what they need is engagement. Some might not have noticed, but I comment below my own videos a lot. And the reason for that is that it drives engagement. Like the greater capitalist culture from which social media companies are derived, the focus is on exploitation and extraction. You have to milk people's time for all they've got, keep squeezing even if there's no juice left to get. To quote YouTube directly, the algorithm follows the audience. And the audience is you and me. It's human beings. We're kind of unpredictable, but we're made from physiological hardware that humans have studied. We experience feelings of reward and pleasure and satisfaction, and these systems in our brains are understood through the lens of psychological behaviorism, the application of which is called conditioning. Social media algorithms are engineered to follow your own psychology for conditioning. They explicitly track how you feel toward the content you consume and use that to keep you engaged in a never-ending feedback loop. But that isn't actually where I think it all went wrong. All the alleged division and formation of echo chambers comes, in my mind, as a side effect of how these systems are designed. You see, there are people talking about the history of community size and social behavior. One particular article from Psychology Today posits that a reasonable community size hangs around 150 members. This is called Dunbar's number. Similarly, psychologists have looked into class size for high schools, which of course I find relevant. They found that sociologically, it's around 150 members that a community is most sustainable and stable. The thing is, social media platforms and online communities are just not built to that target. The map is too big and communities too small. I mean, how often are you watching a YouTube channel with less than 150 subscribers? Shout out to the founding members of the Quiet Party. If you were here before 150, let me know down in the comments. But the thing is, forums, discords, subreddits, community tabs, whatever else, these things can't thrive if they don't grow. So they expand beyond the scales that our own systems of neurology are accustomed to. Companies can't make a profit on so few people. They serve you what you like, what you will engage with. They get a stranglehold on your dopamine and normalize online anonymity, which is something I want to address less formally. Listen, my beef with anonymity is not in principle, only practice. I think it is hugely important that people have anonymous ways to speak truth to power. Not to mention the fact that I think personal privacy is essentially a human right, something people deserve and should have access to. I tie anonymity to all of this because of the underlying psychology behind community size. It's individuation, the ability for a person to know someone as a single entity with one story, one face, and one name. Knowing people and their stories is the social glue that binds us together. When we forget the other, that is when we lose. Lose ourselves, lose one another, lose all sense and sensibilities we need to navigate the dark void that is online social space. All this to say that we need to practice humility. We need to find Sonder, that realization that miraculously and against all common sense, each letter of every word you read on a screen is a person. A human being with an entire life story and pantheon of core memories. You've never seen this person's face. You have no clue what they know. They could be a doctor or astrophysicist or one of the large portion of Americans that read below a 6th grade level. You lose sight of the fact that a real 3-dimensional person can say things suck and everything is awesome back to back and still be a real person. You don't see the longitude, the time, the progression of a person with a life plot. You cry hypocrisy because their opinion changes or contradicts without you realizing that you too have said many things that are themselves contradictions out of context. That is the effect of social media, the way it isolates one person in one moment of time without context or consideration. That is the kind of thing we have to carefully claw our way back to. before anything else becomes normalized out of existence, it will be so unbelievably hard to organize and make real social change if we don't deal with this problem first. And so, in spite of this channel's name, I call you now to be loud in your support of pro-social behavior. Be loud in your consideration and humility. Be proud of your kindness and seek to understand others. Stay vigilant against the machinations of these unfeeling things. Feel for others just as much as you think, and think for yourself just as much as you feel. Because this monster might be with you for the rest of your life, and it wants blood. Feed others instead of that machine. Do whatever it takes. Peace.